This video contains content sponsored by John Wilson Blades and MK Blades. Opinions discussed in this video do not reflect the views of John Wilson or MK.
Hello and welcome to the skating lesson. I'm Dave Leese. You are Jonathan Byer. Say hello to all of your fans.
That's me. Hi.
And this was the suggestion of one of our fans that they wanted to have the two of you together. Lashai, say hello to all of your admiring gays.
Hi.
It feels right.
Favorite kind of admirers.
Yeah, she had dinner with us on Friday night. It was La and a bunch of gay men, and she was shading us, and it was monotone all around. She was in her glory, yes. So we thought only appropriate to judge the World Junior Figure Skating Championships. I caused quite a stir on Facebook. I gave an opinion. People were debating. I was, apparently I hate Russia. We can get into it. You can tell me what you think. But let's start with Yunu Lim, because she's been a rising star. The Olympics are obviously going to be in Pyeongchang, Korea next year. Skating to Miss Saigon. Interesting musical choice.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely done by an American. And I was wondering what you both felt about the program. Jonathan, why don't you start? We'll start with the music. How did you feel about...
Oh, it was fine. I mean, are we going to go into it with each particular component? Because I found some pluses and minuses based on the criteria in which I was looking. Like Miss Saigon is like a little tired, but I guess we haven't really heard it since like Nancy did her I Swear I Give My Life for You exhibition, right? Mm-hmm. That old ditty in the blue dress, do you remember? It's not her finest work.
She also wore a white dress in Albertville when she did it. Mm-hmm.
That's right. No, I did like that one, but like when she's like spinning to the helicopter music, interesting choice.
The spin during the helicopter music was so literal and so offensive.
Because it meant that the helicopter music had to go on for an oddly long amount of time.
Yes.
They included a lot of helicopter material there. So
I didn't like the cuts. I thought it was incohesive.
Cheaply done. Okay.
Yeah.
Who's the choreographer?
So,
because I looked it up for this program and I didn't recognize the name.
So also we need to talk about this because the choreographer, it just has Yiji Shin. I totally didn't pronounce that correctly. I didn't prepare this. La's asking me that on the spot. And Alex Chang. I don't know who did which program. And then, so next year, she went to an unnamed choreographer who Jonathan and I are not huge fans of some of his choices because we feel they are a bit sectionals quality. Like very good for like an Ashley Kane and Tim LeDuc, yeah. And, who are talented for American pairs and, have some nice things, and it's time to, elevate. Unfortunately, this person was saying like, oh, if only I could give her Sing 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 for next year for the short. And I thought, okay, so Yunu Lim is pretty, she has a good body, she has good presentation, she has a good interpretive skills. Like, we're dealing with a full deck of cards here. We could really do something with her. And Sing Sing
There's
Sing.
lots of potential. It seems like you should say Sing 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 for someone you have to like figure something out for.
Yeah, when Philip Mills brags about that he did like the 700th Sing 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 of his career, I always thought, is that something to brag about, or does that mean that you're an unimaginative choreographer? I'm not really sure. Yeah. I debate
what does it say about the person he gives it to? That seems like last resort kind of material to me.
Yeah. You don't give that to Yunu. You spend more time on her, maybe,
I think so.
Especially if like you get the Lori Nickel percentage if they win. Like I would spend more time on the music. Yeah.
Oh,
just saying.
No, that was the thing. Okay.
All right. So what do you think about her overall in her skating? Skating skills. I thought that she has really good speed compared to the other ladies. I saw shades of Yuna Kim when she was going into the opening combination. I thought she has good speed, good expression. I think that she could really use some more ballet classes to help some of her stretch because she's got long, thin body, but not necessarily great lines. The extension and stretch could be a lot better, is what I thought.
So what did you give her for skating skills?
Skating skills, I gave her an 8. I thought she had some strength.
That's higher than the highest judges mark.
Well, maybe I was in a good mood.
No. You're so generous these days.
You know what? Some days, like the judges, some days you're in a good mood, some days you're in a bad mood. Yeah. You just have to be consistent with all of them. Yes. Mm-hmm. What did you get?
I want to go last.
Okay.
Oh, me? Okay. Well, she was fast, right? But there's a thing where you're not supposed to get all your speed from crossovers. Didn't it seem like, I felt like most of her speed was generated from crossovers. Mm-hmm. A lot of 2-foot skating.
Yeah.
She did do that multi-directional skating, like she was employing that a lot, which is like one of the big bullet points in the criteria. And there was like a sureness in her edges, so I gave her a 7.
Okay. All right.
I'm right between you guys. I went 7.25. I agree with you. I thought she had really nice flow, lines, stretched limbs, but it didn't extend down to her toes.
Yeah.
That could be your favorite Adia skates.
I hate them on her. For such a pretty girl, you can't have cheap skates. You don't put a Tiffany... You don't put a Tiffany bracelet in like a cheap box, La, okay? You've been to enough bat mitzvahs. You're not doing that, okay? Give it some nice wrapping paper. Yeah. Transition.
Okay, so we were basically in line.
I thought that transitions, I gave her a 7.5, which was really like kind of my baseline average mark for an upper girl. I thought that was, it was good. It wasn't spectacular. It was fine. What did you think?
I was just drawn to the amount of crossovers. Like, it was a little distracting. We can talk about this later. It comes up a little bit more, but when we judge the 4 continents things and we're talking about transitions, people were directing us to a website where people literally tally the amount of crossovers everyone does in a program. And it was like, Shoma Uno had this many crossovers in this program, and Hanyu had this many crossovers. First of all, I don't know exactly who's taking the time to do that, but also the judges aren't tallying the amount of crossovers. It's just like when they glance up, and every time I glanced up from when I was writing, all I saw were crossovers.
That website is like Megan Duhamel describing transitions for that they like if they exist or don't exist, and it's like, honey, that's not what skating is. But
the judges can't like be tallying with you. They don't. They're not. It's a gut thing, and I just felt like every time I looked up, she was doing crossovers. So I went a 6.25.
All right.
But I also wanted to give a shout out to the judge, Anastasia Makarova, who gave her an 8, like out of nowhere. She was completely inappropriate, but there you go.
So I don't feel as bad about my 7.5 because Anastasia, she saw what I was seeing. Okay, we really...
And that's some. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I also gave her 6.25 because...
Yes!
lack transitions and a ton of crossovers, but it was also, when she wasn't doing crossovers, it was very easy skating. Like, it was mostly 3 turns. You didn't see any rockers, choctaws, counters. There was just no variety or difficulty in any of her turns.
It lacked intricacy, would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they all do this, but since she was the first one I watched and judged, when they land the jump and then do that, like, half crossover, half back crossover out of it, I can't stand. And it just reminds me of Sarah Hughes, who was the worst at it. But
the cross behind, yeah.
And like, skate out of your jump.
All right. Well, you would have gotten me down to a 7 based on your rationale had we been like discussing like that judge at the Andrei Nepola Trophy who's been
suspended for the 300th time or something. Yeah.
But I'm sticking with that 7.5. I want to stay in the ISU's good graces. Performance execution, I gave her a 7. I think that she has a lot of really nice qualities, but when your biggest moment is that you're going to do a spiral into a Lutz and then you fall on the Lutz, I think that that's really a weak moment. Yeah, it's a detraction from the execution. I also really want to extend her limbs and have her work with Catherine Hill, who's been improving Vincent, and took her from like a Tom Z remedial class to, world junior champion. What did you feel?
I went with a 7.25 because she was like creating pretty pictures. It just wasn't like emotionally charged. Like, it was that thing where it could have been any music. It was just like generic, lovely poses, I felt. So what she did was nice. I just didn't believe it was genuine.
Okay.
So.
I had the same went 6.5. She projected in parts, but she looked down a lot, and almost the whole program, especially going into all of her elements. And then if she wasn't looking down, she was looking right at board level and like never looked up into the audience. I always think
like no one there, so there was one for her to look at many of the times.
I make that note of Krylova and Ovsyannikov in like, was it 98 or the next year in 99 when she had that tango and was like, I am gonna reach the upper last seat of the house.
She said she was reaching the 70th roll, but Dick Button was like, too bad there's only 50. That's
I want that. I want to tell the skaters to do that. I'm like, go into the 70s, even if they're only 50.
Exactly.
All right. So for choreography, I gave her a 7.5 because it existed. Like, she tried. I thought it was cheap, and then it was cheaply, like... But she did it with such conviction. However, I really think that this is offensive in all cultures, even if an Asian did your, like, Asian program. Whenever we go to, like, this move before and after every jump, I was offended on her behalf. And I just...
Are you yoga when they go namaste?
I think, no, that's at least genuine, but I am offended when yoga people use yoga speak all the time. Like, they start speaking like a cult leader and just start saying, namaste, yeah. Or talk about the light on Instagram. That's what I get offended by.
They don't do that in my step aerobics class, so I don't know what you're talking about.
What did you give her for choreography?
For composition, Dave.
Composition / choreography.
Updated.
You know.
Okay. I gave it a 7 because things like the helicopter spin was a bit traumatizing to me. She timed a double axel, triple toe at like a really nice place in the music.
Right.
But, yes, but when they do Sun and Moon, the big duet, and there's that big crescendo and they're like belting the high note, she's like doing some like odd crossovers. I was like, that's supposed to be like the moment of the entire program, and you're just like casually like transitioning to the next element. And so I was like, you kind of missed the mark. So 7.
Same thing, 7. I just want her to hold positions. Nothing is held. You can hear Dick Button.
For
Pick thing and do it. Yeah, okay.
So I thought that I gave her the highest mark for interpretation, and I'm sure you're both going to be lower because apparently I was in a good mood yesterday. You know what? Christopher Schumann took us out for a wonderful French meal. We went to Le Bois et Bois, and we texted Marie France, and, you know, we had a wonderful time. And I think I was just really happy when I was watching this. For interpretation... I said that I also put that the music doesn't build appropriately throughout. I really hated the last piece of music in there. And I have bad music underlined. I thought that for interpretation, I gave her an 8.25 because I think that she's very expressive in interpreting her bad music.
Can you repeat that? Did you say 8.25?
Jonathan, I did, okay?
Oh, no, I was just clarifying. That's all.
What did you give her, a 5? I mean, Jonathan, can you repeat that? Are you on meds? What's going on?
I just if you said a 7 or an 8. That's all.
I said an 8. Honey, what are we doing here? What's going on? What's happening? Okay. What did you give her?
I said 7. Because I thought, like, it captures some of the moods, but, like, when the music would change, like, these big rhythmic changes, and there's that xylophone, like she wasn't really responding to it.
How about how she interpreted the helicopter scene, though?
It's on the nose. I don't know. It's bad. It's like when they do sign language to be like, I love you, like during their choreography. I think it's not great. Okay.
6.75.
Ouch. Ouch.
It was like very all one level for me.
Yeah.
I think she's a better skater than this program allows her to be.
Yeah.
Oh, totally agree. She is actually the skater that I would pick to use the medley. Sorry, Ashley Wagner, but I would give Yunsu the that awful Emily Blunt, movie, which is with the good music. La La Land. I would give her the La La Land program next
It was
season.
not Emily Blunt.
Whatever her name is. She's a white girl with red hair. She's something with an E and an S or whatever. Emma Stone. Yeah.
Yes.
All those white people look the same. Let's be honest. They're all so white bread. What, are from the Midwest? Yeah, okay.
This did remind me of like a nice University of Delaware skater back in my day.
That's an insult to me. Yeah. I
She
always
was lovely.
kind of cheaply done, but had some potential. I think that she's the one I would spend the money on going forward.
I would pay her to become an American and compete for the U.S. internationally.
All right, let's just touch on that rather than going. I felt like the American ladies were competing at the Novice Worlds. I think that Star, maybe we could give her a season with Raphael before we give up on this. I think as nice,
I said French in my notes.
Yeah, I think as nice as Brady Tennell is, and I think she looks like a nice girl, nice skater, I don't see any potential there beyond what she's delivered here.
When we interviewed Linda, and then like especially off camera, when we were like, okay, tell us the real deal about this skater and this skater and this skater, she was talking about, and I don't think she would think this is out of school, but she was talking about Barbie Smith. And she was saying like, you need every pillar to line up, right? You need the hard work. You need the good coach. You need the support system, blah, 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 blah. I feel like she's doing everything right. She just doesn't have it.
She doesn't have it. Everything is like, okay.
And it just doesn't matter. She's doing everything right, but somehow I'm not invested in any way.
I would allow Brady Tennell to go for the Olympics, and I would tell her that if you need to do that for personal reasons, I really recommend it. Otherwise, I would not waste your money, and I would get a really good audition tape together, and then tour Disney on Ice and like enjoy your college years, and then go to school afterwards, and use this as a very good extracurricular activity.
What happened to Amber Glenn? We still don't know. It just said she withdrew for personal reasons. I felt like
here's the thing: when you withdraw for personal reasons, don't go skating in Denver when there's going to be a competition there, because then people are going to really raise questions. I don't know what her personal issues were, but I would just be undercover for whatever reason. But she wasn't jumping, so it could be an injury but she was working on new programs apparently. So
yeah, I felt like if it was an injury, they would have said an injury.
Here's the thing about this, and like I think that people, you have personal issues, like withdraw, whatever, deal with them. The thing is that could mean such a myriad of things, and everyone's going to go, that, in 20 years when Justin Mahalik is Wikipediaing, at 3 o'clock in the morning, he's going to be like, how about those personal issues she had? Like, it's just like leads someone to think like, like fake an injury, be like, high hamstring pull. That's...
Yeah. No, make it worse. Tear a ligament in your leg.
Make it feel bad for you, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think you guys are being a little harsh on Brady Tennell. She skated very well here.
She skated very well. I just don't... She's never going to be that girl who's going to go to the Olympics and land more than 5 triples. Like,
what if she just had different packaging?
No. The talent isn't there for the triples.
Well,
and she's too tall.
I feel like she works very hard. There's just some sort of intangible it factor that's missing.
She's a Midwestern white girl who's very nice, but is ultimately going to blend into the wallpaper. I mean, you have to really make us believe in you. You have to... She's not the right... She doesn't have the star quality. She's very nice. She could be a good coach. She could be a very refined skater. I don't have any reason to, give her high marks like I gave to Yunsu because of some intangible reason of I like her. There's just none of that for me.
Well, and Star did, because she had that viral YouTube video back in the day.
Well, was she now?
Yeah. Well, that was the thing.
Unfortunately, with Star Andrews, she reminds me of like Cindy Brady season 5, where she was really cute season 1, where she did the whip my hair and she had the nice lisp, and like now you see them like going through puberty and you're like, oh, not as cute. It doesn't. Now you're
transition.
Yeah. It's those tough times.
Don't send Tessa Hong. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, she's going to be with Frank, have that time, and come back, for the Olympics. Okay. He's going to pull it off again. What do we think of Kori Sakamoto? Because I felt like she was really tough to judge. Because you talk about Brady Tennell, So she's the Japanese girl who doesn't have the it factor, but she's not offensive in terms of posture like a Rika Hongo, but she has a really stiff quality to her upper back. She has nice knees and nice edges, and she's doing things on the ice. I was just not captivated by it. What were your overall impressions of Kori?
I have to say I didn't really remember her so much from Japanese nationals. Like, I was like, wait a minute, what is this program again?
There are reasons for that.
I mind it, and I may or may not have accidentally given her much higher PCS marks than I would have if I went back and thought more about it. But in the moment, I was being surprisingly generous.
Did you say that you didn't mind her?
In the moment?
Yeah.
Well, when you're talking about, like,
that is the biggest backhanded compliment of all time, Jonathan. Like, oh.
Oh, well. Well, I mean, it's also like you're also judging like within the field. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I was just surprised when I went back and looked at my marks how generous I was.
I was generous.
Whereas if I watched it several times over and over, I probably would have been more critical.
What did you think, La?
I thought that her skirt was the wrong shape.
Definitely.
And it was
it
was nice. It was graceful.
Yeah, so she's a boxy girl. We need to really help the packaging moving forward. We need to like make it look like she has a neck. We need to get rid of the skates, really lean her out in the silhouette to really, because she doesn't have a long neck and long limbs, so they need to do something. I thought
it was a cool program. It just didn't wow me.
I think she had really deep edges, and she had some big jumps, and she actually does things on the ice. I gave her an 8 for skating skills and transitions because she does have a lot of cleanliness to her skating. It's just not special.
I also gave her an 8 for skating skills because of the knees and the edges and things like this. And then for transitions, she did have a lot of variation in them, which was nice. I gave her a 7.5 for transitions.
I did 7.75 skating skills. I agree. She had really nice flow of edge and good lean into her edges, and it was just like a smooth, calm look. Mm-hmm. She looks a lot more senior than Zagitova, which we'll get into.
Mm-hmm.
I thought out of like who looks like they could be in senior ladies, Honda and Sakamoto. Mm-hmm. And then transitions, I did 6.5. It's like they existed. They're just so simple. And I think, so part of my problem here is that when I think of transitions, I just think of Jason Brown. Mm. And when I think of skating skills, I think of Patrick Chan. I know they're like the epitome of it. Mm. And then when it's just like lacking, I'm like,
right.
I don't know what to give this. You did some nice 3 turns into your loop and a 3 turn into double axel, and that was really it. Mm-hmm. Because transitions is into the jump, right? It's not, or like into the element.
In and out, yeah.
Right.
It's the in-betweens.
So, it's just, yeah.
Okay. So I was in a really good mood when I was judging this because it was on the gay night of TV, which is when you watch Big Little Lies and feud back and forth. So if there's an inflation to everyone, French restaurant feud, but performance execution, I gave
What is feud?
How are you even surrounded by gay men? That is...
I watch a lot of Family Feud.
Feud is the show with Jessica Lange and Susan Sarandon where they do Betty Davis and Joan Crawford, whatever happened to Baby Jane. You know what, Ma? I'm so offended by... Someone's phone is ringing, but yes. I gave her a 7.25 for performance execution. I think it looks like she has a stick up her upper back, but I think that... overall, she was clean and pleasant and unoffensive.
I thought the stick was going to be.
No, like, wait, what? No, the posture. Got it. Yeah, okay, got it.
The back, it just doesn't, move to the music. It doesn't curve with the, there's no feeling.
It goes this way into the edge.
Yeah, she doesn't really, it never, you know how your body, responds to music? Hers never really does. She just kind of, she'd be a really good synchro girl. Like, she'd hit the edge at the right time. She'd be good, like, as, like, one of 16 girls on the ice. She's just not a star. Like, she's gonna max out at, like, alternate status. Yeah.
I gave her a 7.5 because I thought there was variety in her movements. I thought she did have that carriage in her, torso and these kind of things, but it just grew bland after a while. Like, after I had seen a bit of it, it just continued, and so I lost a little interest. So 7.5.
Same, 7.5. I want to show more face, more eyes.
All right, so we were all, like, in agreement there. Choreography, I felt that she was trying to do sophisticated choreography and that it existed. It just wasn't, I don't know, the interpretation wasn't there, and I felt like the choreographer tried to give her a sophisticated senior packaging. I gave her a 7.75. I debated. I had 7.5, 7.75, crossed out back and forth. I'm going to go with the higher number. And I felt like it was of a higher quality than Yunsu's, so that's why I'm giving her the 7.75. I tried to put everyone in range. What did you think, Love?
Okay. I did the same by placing her a little ahead, but gave 7.25.
Okay.
It's like nice coverage and things, but when I watched her hands, they were inconsistent. Like, sometimes her arms and her hands were, like, beautifully placed and had energy, and other times it was like that, like, dead hand Paulina Edmonds thing where they were just, like, hanging there. So 7.25.
Yeah, I said 7.25 also, and for 7.25 for interpretation. I thought it was pretty. It was nice that it wasn't this, like, super generic program, but no one's ever going to stand up out of their seat for this.
I gave her a 7.25 for interpretation as well. How about you?
I did 7.5, yeah. Generic, but lovely, but...
Yeah. Very seafoam green. It was just...
So where did you all end up with your total number for Yunu Lim?
I had them both at 61.2, I think.
Okay, so higher than what they got, both of them.
Yes, I was in a good mood, but I tried to differentiate with the ladies. So, yeah, what did you give them?
I gave Yunu Lim 55.20, so like a little less than the judges. And then Sakamoto, I gave 60.4, so like basically exactly what she ended up with.
Okay.
Just to multiply these numbers.
1.6, La.
Yeah. So
University of Pennsylvania, everyone, right there. That's...
It's just like an attempt at this. So.
Well, in the real thing, they just do that part for you.
It was very time consuming.
I've met some of those judges, and they definitely cannot add or multiply, so don't worry.
1.6? You said?
1.6.
Why 1.6?
That's a really good question. Because it's the law.
I had 54.
Okay.
Okay, you can come back to me.
Okay.
She's tabulating the results.
But I think that you're going to want to talk about the next girl, because let's talk...
57.6.
Oh, okay. All right.
So you're still... Yeah.
So let's go to the next girl. I mean, because that would be Marin Honda of Japan, who skated to Romeo and Juliet. So why don't we start with both of you? Because I loved everything about this program. I think it's my favorite ladies program of the last 3 to 4 years that I can remember. I really love it. Okay. What good ladies program have you seen since Sochi? What program has really stood out to you? Ashley, I like Mao's this season.
She never did it up to its potential, but I thought Mao's.
I like Mao's this season. I certainly don't think that Costner's free skate this year is in any danger of replacing anything that I liked before. I think Ashley Wagner's Moulin Rouge is fun, but there are no real programs that I think have been worth my viewing time over the last couple of years. I mean, what do you... Lost looks like she smelled something. So I mean, she is just, I don't know.
Let's just get into the
all right.
The scores.
I said the numbers she had soft knees, glide, and I had her as a best dressed nominee. Okay.
Oh yeah.
You have to yell it though. I liked when you yelled it.
All right. Skating skills. I said 8.5. I thought that she has really great soft knees. I love her landings of her jumps. how she exits the jumps. And I feel like because of her good skating skills, it's like each jump just kind of adds to the program. It just, everything is blended with a soft lyrical quality. I would cast her in an ice show. I would cast her in a commercial. I liked everything about her carriage across the ice. I just thought everything looked so clean and pristine. And Michael Shanley loved her. So I think that that's extra points right there. What did you think?
Speaking of putting her in commercials, there is that Bay Area car dealership called Marin Honda.
Yes.
As in, like, the Honda dealership.
Because when you search on YouTube, that's what shows up.
Yeah, it's a pretty funny coincidence. Okay, I just get like some guy named Jonathan Byer who's a pastor somewhere, but I'd rather have a car dealership. Okay, for skating skills, I put 8.25 because of the gorgeous flow and glide, all the 1 foot skating, there's a softness to it, and her leaning edges were really pretty, so 8.25.
Yes. I did 8, which was the highest I did in skating skills. She just has such a great ease of movement, and I love watching her. The one thing I think she needs to work on is utilizing both pushes in the crossover. She doesn't pick up her foot and push to cross over for her forward crossovers. It's like when the foot stays on the ice. Am I explain? Does this make sense?
I know you're talking about the second push. Yeah.
But now I want to go back and rewatch it.
I'm getting the first push. But other than that, she's wonderful.
For transitions, I gave her an 8.5 because I thought everything that she did was so clean, even if they weren't always the most difficult. I thought that everything was so exceptionally done and of a higher quality. What did you think?
I gave her an 8 because I saw, I was aware of some of the crossovers. Like, they were sticking out to me for some reason. But she did varied transitions, and so I gave her an 8.
Yeah, I did 7.5. I know this isn't part of it, but her footwork sequence was, by far the most difficult and the best. And then that sequence she did into the triple sow, where she was on 1 foot going in and 1 foot going out, was really great. And same with the loop sequence where I don't know what the name is, where you just hold your leg up.
Kind like a Kerrigan spiral into a loop, but yeah.
But you're holding your heel.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't think it has a name. In gymnastics, it would all have a name.
Yes.
But there were a lot of crossovers, and the rest of the transitions, a little weak. And she does the half crossover out of the jumps. Just saying.
What did you give for performance execution? This is where I start to really give her the love. In my marks, I'm just warning you, these are my favorite marks to deduct and to award points for. I gave her a 9. I thought that everything was pristine. I thought that she had a Yuka Sato quality with a Michelle Kwan star power. That's what I really felt about her, which I think is the ultimate in performance. What did you think?
I gave her an 8.5. I wrote she has Michelle Kwan hands. Her fingers are very reminiscent of Michelle's stuff. But if I have to make a criticism, is that some of the moves aren't always finished. Like the lunge that she does, it's she kind of phones it in real fast or something instead of, we know she has the ability to make it every move a moment. And so just occasionally, and the opening pose for me should be more striking in its execution. But the carriage is amazing. It's emotionally connected. So 8 point.
Yeah, I did 8.5. I was just really invested in the program. She draws you in and then you can't take your eyes off of her. And she's the only one that does that for me.
Yeah. Choreography, I went really high. I went 9.5 because I loved it. I thought that the footwork added to the program. It's one of the only programs I've seen where the footwork sequence felt like choreography. It was timed to the music.
Yeah.
And I felt like even the steps were dictated by the music, which when we get into the men, I don't think that any of them are ever at risk for that. But I felt like the whole program was seamless to beginning to end, and that was the highest mark I gave her. But for choreography, I felt like it was really...
Okay. I gave her an 8.5 for it as well. Because it was, they talk about every move being purposeful. criteria. And every move was motivated, and every step was necessary. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just like extra to be doing. Every move was needed, is how she was interpreting it. And they talk about that. My favorite thing is when it says should they utilize personal and public space. And I felt like she was a nice combination of innate and sensitive and projected. So, and she makes like phrases. She makes like giant dance sentences. Like she dances like Mao does, or as Emily Tuttle pointed out, maybe even better. But like she's making like big arc movements, not like a bunch of choppy choreographic moments. So
I agree with what you guys are saying, but so I gave her a 7. And
okay,
this is what
you're not going to be invited to dinner anymore.
Okay.
Well,
anyway. I agree, and I like it, but the program to me, and this could be interpretation, I don't know. It's all the same. It was very generic, and no movement was something that looked like it was uniquely her or uniquely created for her. And it could have been choreographed for any skater. And I say that, but it's not, every skater wouldn't have done it as well as she did, but I still think that the movements, the music, the choreography, it could have been anyone out there. It didn't, there was like no originality to it and nothing that suited her skate
you're saying,
and brought her out. And it was like not creative, nothing unique in it, except that she is a beautiful skater and does it very well.
Who was the choreographer for this?
This is Jeff Buttle.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess I agree, and I think like she has the potential to make more iconic programs in the future. But I guess I'm also comparing it to like a senior program.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was unique. I don't know. I thought there were a lot of points in there, but I don't know. I felt like I would agree with La's assessment more in the short program that Marina did to Smile, which I think is far more generic. And I also would deduct with the pigtails. But I just, I felt like, I agree, I felt like that Jeff did create something. But that's differences of opinion. So that's why they drop out the high and the low and average. So I would be thrown out, La would be thrown out, and Jonathan, what did you give? 8.5? Right?
8.5, yeah.
And she would get 8.5, yes.
The only one who's going to end up with my score in the mix. I think going low and you're going high. Okay.
What's so funny is that you were the nicer judge last time and I was the meaner judge, and it's reversed.
So think about what kind of food I was in. Yeah, okay.
You weren't watching Big Little Lies, honey. I mean, you didn't have that in your life.
I was watching Family Feud.
Yeah, okay. That's why. Okay. Interpretation, I went a 9, which is the same score that I gave for performance execution. I thought that she had really good interpretation. I've seen her have more energy in the past. But I thought that what she did was such at a higher level than any of these other juniors. And I was watching her next to Zagitova. So I really felt like she deserved far higher points than Zagitova did. So what did you award her?
I gave her an 8.5. It was very effortless. It had more finesse and nuance than certainly anyone else in the event. And even though certain elements of the music could be more like intricately interpreted, like exact musical moments, her mood was shifting with each mood shift in the music, which is part of the criteria. So I gave her an 8.5. I wrote just total dancer. That's what I wrote. Oh, and meanwhile, number 4, who is Judge Jana Vodyashova? I mean, I guess we can imagine where she's from, but her marks for Marin Honda were criminally low. They were offensive to me.
She was the East German judge that Carlo had paid off to Judge Linda. Is that what was going on here?
Bye, Yana. Goodbye.
What did you give, La?
I gave her an 8. I thought what she does very well. Very beautiful, but I need a uniqueness because she's such a unique skater.
Okay.
I need like some moves that are like, that is you and that is this program.
Jeff Buttle, did you hear that? Because she's going to the Olympics next year, and this girl needs to win, and she has some very stiff competition from Medvedeva and Zagitova, and she needs unique moves that La is going to say, that is Marin Honda.
And she's better than that.
Okay.
Yeah. You're saying she's capable of more. Now,
I really think that she is the best lady skater in the world right now, if we're judging appropriately. I mean, you talk about what she's doing on the ice compared to the jump rope and the 9/11. I mean, I think she's far more sophisticated and talented, and I mean, to me is really. I think she is a skater we're going to remember, and we're going to remember the Russian ladies as a cluster of a very similar style. And you talk about lacking originality. Yeah.
I wish for Marin Honda that the Olympics were in 2019, though.
Yes, I agree.
That would have helped, but. Also, is this the moment to talk about the Japanese world team? Because I wish Marin could be on it now that Mao is out, but she's too young, right? Is that what you said?
She's going to be too young. And this is a real problem because they're at a real risk of not getting 3 spots like the American ladies because they have to send Rika Hongo, Mei Mihara, and Wakaba Higuchi. And that team could get 3 spots. They could get 2. And that's depending on a lot of things. And they're kind of resorting to help from other people, and their world team doesn't really stand out. They don't really have any stars, and it's strange to say that the Japanese are at risk of not getting 3 spots, but it does look like that could be the case. In which case, I think that they're going to have to... It'll be very interesting how they judge. Because Marin didn't get any benefit of the doubt at Japanese nationals this year because she was a junior and judged as such. So... I don't know. La, are you concerned about the Japanese Olympic team for next season? Are you like, bye?
She's losing sleep.
Yes. She's losing tons of sleep. Now,
unless Elkin Cabas and Rika can bring back Riverdance.
Okay.
She did. So we have to watch Riverdance again? Like every time I think we're done with Riverdance for the last time, she's going to be doing Riverdance at this year's Worlds again. Oh my gosh, it won't go away.
So
what was your all date for Mark?
71.2.
Wow. Okay.
Well, she was my high, so Yunsu was my low, and in the middle. So, as Vanessa Riley would tell you, Jonathan, it's about the ranking and the differentiation.
I keep thinking you're saying Yuzu, like Yuzuru Hanyu, and I'm like, who?
No.
I got it.
I gave her 66.8, which was still a good 4 and some points above what the judges gave her.
Yeah, the judges didn't do their job here at all. The judges really didn't differentiate between any of the junior skaters, and then it winds up being a tactical game at Junior Worlds. They just put everyone in a box, and they're afraid to mark.
Yeah.
Which, if you're going to have a judging assignment and fly all the way to Taipei, I would, judge the event.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, would you?
62.4.
Okay, so about the judges.
But no, that's high, and that was about. Well, I don't want to spoil it.
All right.
Much significantly higher.
PCS. Yeah, she was mine by a lot.
All right. So Zagitova, even Michael Shanley said that the first half of the program was far too boring. He thought, what is she doing? Now, people are going to say, just because she's doing Don Quixote, that she's a young Kitri, and this is a young Kitri variation. However, watching the Youth Grand Prix of ballet, I will tell you that many of the young Kitris have nice lines, nice posture, and interpretation of a much higher level than Zagitova, and I think that this is a cheaply done Don Quixote on any level, and that this is someone who has spent the last 2 to 3 seasons of her career focusing entirely on jumps. This is like if Tom Z coached a junior lady. I mean, this is what I really... Tom Z with, like, a Terry Clutter. Well, with Tessa Hong, I was trying to say in the most polite way that I thought that he stripped everything special out of her skating, and that's what I was trying to get at in the national show without really saying it. And I didn't think that going back to Frank was an option, but yeah. I did send a recommendation to work with Catherine Hill. That was who did the magic with Vincent. So, yeah. What were your overall impressions of her?
Well, the whole thing is like, especially looking at just PCS, like you can't deny the jumps and the combos and that they're all in the second half and blah, blah, blah. But then you are literally giving us the first half of your program to literally only look at your PCS. Yeah. We are not distracted in any way. So like, okay, you're getting that bonus little X or whatever on all your jumps because they're in the second half. But now we get to scrutinize uninterrupted components. And I don't know. I let her have it. So... Yeah.
Very shallow edges.
Mm-hmm.
But in comparison to Honda, I know you're going to disagree a lot, but I thought there was more uniqueness to the music and movement to her than Honda had.
Like uniquely bad?
Unique to the music. And
I guess I've watched too many of the Russian junior ladies, but that...
Portraying. Like, I can see how this exercise was very eye-opening.
Okay.
And I can see how the jumping rope and, like, the weird September 11th tribute gets away from this genericness and, like, gives them something unique and puts unique movement to music that other skaters do not have.
You are like defending Megan Duhamel in the highest regard today. I really think that you could be on her.
Maybe I'm just being more pro-Russian.
Oh.
Here we go. It has nothing to do with the country. It has everything to do with Ilya Averbuch at the end of the day.
The one thing I heard Jonathan in my head at the beginning of her program, and I heard Jonathan say, she's spinning when the music is asking for skating and deep edges and unique choreography. And I heard him going on like a Frank, Dick, Queen rant during the beginning of her skating. And I didn't know if he was...
music!
Jonathan, she was spinning and the music was asking for other things. Didn't you hear it, Jonathan? It was asking for other things.
That's what I was saying about Sun and Moon in the Miss Saigon program.
I mean, I feel like she has, like, energy. That was... but I really felt that the posture, the line... Okay, and if you're going to have bent legs and lacking of stretch and posture, I also think that skating to a ballet is a poor choice because, to me, it emphasizes everything that you're bad at, as does when you... give us nothing but skating in the first half of your program.
Well, it's interesting. I know that 2-2 is like a recycled little number, but the thing about that, same thing with Oksana when she used it, and even, Russian ice dancer who was
black.
bronze medalist.
Yeah, the black.
Next one. It was a beautiful dress, but somehow you automatically think it's more authentically balletic. Like anything you see in that kind of outfit is like smoke and mirrors about like, look, we're being a fancy balletic dancer right now. But
see, I felt that when Oksana and Ilyinik did it, it emphasized their good qualities, and it emphasized to me all of their stretch and their lines and the fact that they had taken ballet since they were a fetus. But with Zagitova, I thought that it was Halloween costume choreography.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, give us your numbers. What were your skating skills?
Skating skills, I went 7.75. Remember, I gave Marin Honda an 8.5, so I felt like she had good speed, but there were some shallower edges, and she's capable of doing the Choctaws and the rockers. I just don't think that they're particularly exceptionally well done. Transitions, I gave a 7.75 because she does have some clutter, but then the fact that they are... the fact that she backloads, there's actually fewer transitions because she has to crossover to fit it in. There's no time for anything. Performance, execution, and choreography, I gave 7.5, which for me was a low mark. And then interpretation, I gave 7.75 because she had some spark. It just wasn't unique or interpretive to the music. So what did you give her for the marks?
Okay, so for skating skills, like she does have like speed and ability. I mean, like I gave her an 8. She does one for skating, but when she does, it's very labored looking and it's not great. And oh my gosh, I just like actually pause and go back. I was like, was that supposed to be an Ina Bauer?
The squat.
I was like, what was that? So I automatically like knocked it down a peg because I had it higher, and then I saw that Ina Bauer attempt, and I was like, bye. So I gave her an 8. Transitions, same thing. There's no time for them because she literally is just jump to jump in that second half. I said 7.5. Performance, I gave an 8 because she does have committed energy and sharp movement in her arms. She is committed to doing those gestures, and she projects, I thought. The composition is where I let her have it, and the lowest mark from the judges was 7.75. I gave her a 6.75. I'm sorry, a part of the criteria is proportion. There is zero proportion in this. This is like literally offensively unproportionate. Like when we were talking about Marin's like phrases, she's a whole bunch of short, choppy choreographic elements to me. There's no purpose, and it's like arbitrary movements. Sometimes she moves with a beat. Sometimes she moves on like beats that don't exist. Like there's just silence, but she's like skating as if there's some music asking for that. Now, and this is where I got angry within the composition mark, because judges number 3, 4, and 8 had Zagitova at least 0.25 higher than Honda. I think that's offensive. And the interpretation of music, it was monochromatic, and the body, it just had nothing to do with what we were listening to. So, 7.
What is
I
it?
was impassioned, sorry.
6.75.
Ooh.
Shallow edges. Doesn't hold any positions. I mean, that spiral, like, into something.
It wasn't a spiral, yeah.
Right. No landing positions. Her lines aren't nice. It's a lot of flailing arms, frantic movements, and it looks very junior. Transitions, I said 6. The program just doesn't have any.
Right.
As you said, it's so backloaded. Performance execution, I went 8. I thought she projected well, and it was like a more outward to the audience program. She used
Public space.
Yeah.
Okay.
She used her face. It was just sloppy. And then choreography 7.5. This is what I touched upon earlier. Movements are unique to her and to the music and the program, and like she plays the character, and I thought she stayed in character. And then interpretation 7.75. She hits the notes. I thought she hits the notes of the music well, and it's just sloppy.
She didn't miss the beat of Don Quixote like Sarah Hughes used to when she would throw the arm up. That was her signature. Yeah. It's funny to me how all of these ladies use Don Quixote when they're not the most sophisticated or balletic. It's an odd choice for me. I could see, why did Oksana Bayul? That's why I would give Don Quixote to, but to me they use it as this generic, you're gonna make you more sophisticated, and I always think it makes you look like Irina Slutskaya in a bad way.
Or entering Carmen. So what was your overall for Zagitova?
61.6.
I did 57.6. It's about almost 5 points lower than I had Honda.
I did 59.6, and what I accidentally did and did not realize it until it was too late is I put Sakamoto ahead of Zagitova in PCS, but I didn't necessarily intend for that.
Also, too. So I went back and ranked how I had everyone, like, in each element. So, like, who I gave the edge to. And skating skills, I have Honda first, out of the top 4, Zagitova 4th. Same with transitions. And then performance execution, I had Honda, Zagitova.
Yeah.
And then I gave choreography and interpretation to Zagitova.
Interesting.
Let's move on to the men, as this is going to be a fun discussion. I heard a lot of Jonathan yelling in my head with the emphasis of Josh Groban. And
Yes.
okay, so let's start. Alexander Petrov, the Sinatra program, Mishin, which he wasn't offensively, stereotypically Mishin, and I thought that was a very...
I had that note too.
Yeah, he didn't have like the garish costume or the gloves or anything, and I thought that
like the static movement dancing.
Yeah, I'm curious if he came from a lower level coach that wasn't Mishin that kind of gave him some basic qualities that Mishin.
Also, we're putting Plushenko with Mishin,
Yes.
but Mishin was also like responsible for Yagudin.
Yeah. Because they come from lower level coaches before they move there. Remember, every Russian fluff piece has that they traveled by car and train and like underground railroad in the middle of like Siberian night to get to Mishin. So that is, and they were on the train. They were on the train for 4 days. You know, they didn't know if Mishin would take them, but yeah, I've watched those before. I felt that Petrov had some of the nicest skating skills of all of the men, and I really felt that he had really solid edges and he has good knees. The one thing that the Russian men do is that they place their hip really well for a strong outside edge, especially when they go into the axle. They have a really clean edge like a clean edge that they're leaning into, and it allows them to really be set up well to the jump. And I notice a big difference to this versus Vincent, who sometimes looks like he can get a little like swingy and sloppy going into some of his jumps. So I felt that Petrov just looked a lot stronger, and I gave him high marks for skating skills and transitions, and then we'll get to the rest. But I gave him an 8 for skating skills and a 7.5 for transitions because I felt that there was some strength there. What did you feel?
So for skating skills, I did 7.75.
Okay.
There's lightness to his skating, like an ease about it that was kind of like refreshing, and I enjoyed it. A bit of 2-foot skating, which is why I didn't put it higher. And for transitions, I found them basic a little bit, but he had them, so I put 7.25.
Okay.
I did 7.5 skating skills, 6.25 transitions. I thought the transitions were really lacking. He has a nice carriage and didn't really have the difficulty in his movement. But I preferred him over Voronov and am blanking on the other guy's name and just wrote the kisser. Do you know how in the Cup of Russia they just kept showing him in the audience?
Costume. Yeah. When we were watching the horrified audience at Arisha to make out, like right before like a little like Japanese skater who was like, oh gosh. It's funny.
Well, that's why we bring you on this show. You know, that's we'll invite you back to dinner. That'll be good, you know. Okay, so let's go. Jonathan, let's talk about this music. I know Ann Jensen loves Sinatra, but I felt like this music didn't fit Petrov's personality at all. And I appreciated that he gave the little verve, you know, like the little zhuzh.
That was a moment when he was like looking both ways. Yeah.
And I felt like everything else was like far too big for him, and it didn't resonate. I didn't see any time where the music felt like it went through his body and responded to it. I mean, he did this, but to me, this is low-level interpretation. But I felt like... Yeah.
Well, so what were your numbers?
I gave him 7 for performance, execution, interpretation, and choreography. I just thought that he had... He is the vehicle of the Russian man that I would pick to move forward. That, like, if I were a betting man and, like, had to put money on someone and develop them and, you know, allocate a budget, I would put it in Petrov. I mean, he's attractive. He's got nice edges, good knees. He has, like, ability. I just felt like there were some moments where you could tell that Mishin is guiding his skating. I felt like Mishin has been dimming the light of Karolina Kostner and her good qualities, and that he's dimmed Petrov's potential in his interpretive areas. What did you feel?
Well, I was torn because what I saw in this was choreography that, like, the Frank Sinatra big band torch songy choreography, putting the fingers through the hair, the collar, the points, like all this stuff. And I felt like he doesn't buy it. Like in the opening, he was very much like, oh God, I have to do this move. Oh, I hate that move. And then in the middle, like when you were saying, he actually owned it a little bit. And then all of a sudden it like elevated those moves. So I was torn because some of it I was like, you're going through the motions and you don't believe them. Mm-hmm. And other times I was like, but you clearly have performance ability. when you are selling it properly. So I was a little torn because he kept going back and forth. He was inconsistent about his sincerity and his motivation with those moves. Performance, I put 7.75. Like on his smoke break, I wrote, on his smoke break, he sold it. And then on the rest of them, he felt embarrassed by them, I felt. Composition, 7.5. And again, some obvious, cheesy moments, 7.5. He was just genuinely carefree. Sometimes when I write things down for skaters or singers or something, I just I don't care about you. And it's not to be mean, but I'm not invested. I'm not going to follow you. I could take it or leave it. Him, I left and I was like, oh, I liked that. That was nice. Yeah. So there you go.
I did 7.5 for performance execution. I thought he connected to the audience, and it was nice that he smiles at the judges, and he actually looks like he's having a good time out there. And then choreography interpretation, 7.25 I did for both. I thought the program actually fit his skating in the way that his knee bend and his overall look, I thought worked for Frank Sinatra.
Mm-hmm. It was light. It was like carefree kind of. It was, yeah.
And it again, very un-Mishin and un-Russian, and he got some bonus points for me for that.
All right. How about Alexander?
Now these were times we're multiplying by 2.
By
right?
2, because the men have higher TES scores, so they try to appropriately weight the program components.
Skating has gotten so complicated.
So they gave him 75.7.
I gave him 73.
I gave him 75.5.
I was 71.5.
Okay.
I'm in the middle this time. See, I judged the men and the ladies on a different day. Wasn't watching Big Little Lies, Alexander Petrov. You were not giving me Reese Witherspoon. All right. Well, let's see. Alexander Samarin. All right. I wrote that he had a nice shirt for the club, and I said, I bet Jonathan hates this music.
Both of those things are true.
To me, should we just go into the numbers? I mean, I just have nothing nice to say.
Yeah. I was so offended by the music. I kept turning it down. I was like, make it stop. It's horrifying. It's like nails on a chalkboard. Okay.
All right. So skating skills, I went 7. Transitions, I went 7. There was some stuff there. I wanted to make it stop. The whole program. Performance execution, 6.25. Interpretation, 6.25. Choreography, 6.25. I felt like he was falling all over the place and flailing all over the place, and I just hated it.
And part of that flailing goes into my score. With skating skills, I went too high, but I put 7.5. But everything was short and choppy. But there was an unsteadiness to his skating. I thought he was going to fall down. Sometimes when you watch maybe a beginning skater, and that it looks like they're just going to down at any moment. Who did you say?
I said an adult.
Well, I didn't want to say that, but oftentimes, yes, as we were. But it just, there's a unsureness, and so it made me nervous. Transition 6.75. I found them awkward. The performance, I said he has no quality of music, and he looked exhausted. It was like a survival kind of feeling. 7. Composition, I gave a 7. I put windmill arms, arbitrary angst. It was this fist open, fist closed. Oh, look at these emotions. Interpretation of music. Now, do you remember in Vancouver, everyone was like, oh, the bells of Moscow, it's too heavy for Mao, blah, blah, blah. Nope, I was the one person that absolutely loved it. I felt because she was skating big and she was creating this gravitas, this music is skating him. Mm-hmm. It's not good, and it was too much, and he couldn't handle it. It was terrible. The music, especially.
It was terrible. Skating skills, 6.75. He looks like a very tall, lanky guy, but his movements were very short. And I made the finger comment, like the dead hands, like include your fingertips in it. Transitions, I said a 0/6.0.
AKA. Okay.
And then performance execution, 6.75. Like, he was invested in it, but I just want to like go like this and say, close your mouth.
He was exhausted. Yeah, I think he was like gasping for air. Yeah.
He's doing his angst, and it's like the theme is skating while angry.
Or he had Lindy Fradiani's deviated septum. Couldn't breathe.
No, I really think he's like trying to interpret anger, angst. I don't know.
I wrote angsty. That's
yeah.
I said angst.
I wrote arbitrary angst. Okay.
I wanted to take his shoulder blades and just like pinch them together.
Okay.
Because it was like so rounded. And then his choreography is just like all flailing, and that terrible back catch foot spin where his skating knee is bent, and you're just like, what is that?
Like, why bother with it? Yeah.
And like the landings where he looked like he was going to fall on everything. Oh yeah, choreography. I said 6.25/0.
But no.
There's no choreography there.
Okay.
Oh dear. All right. Overall, I gave him a 65.5. How about you?
I was too high. I gave him a 71, but of these men, he was the lowest for me.
Pause. 64.5?
Okay.
According to your scores, I'd say that's about right.
Yeah. You gave a couple of zeros in there. Yeah. He missed his homework a couple of times.
Right.
Dmitri Aliev performing to Josh Krobrin, Broken Vow. And I wrote that I felt that the artistry was very Oprah Show 2004 levels of depth. I really, just really...
I'm going to need you to explain that. I don't know what that means.
All right. So Oprah Show 2004 means that something... Usually it would be like a middle-aged woman who like is learning about a gay man for the first time in 2004 and it's like, oh, like where Nate Berkus comes on and shows you how to like decorate your house and you're like, oh, an accent wall, like really just obvious. And 2004, we're still in the Bush era, so you have to remember we're a little bit less sophisticated. America was really kind of brain dead at this time. We didn't know much about anything, and we really became progressive over the next decade. It was a rough time in 2004. Queer Eye was on. We were like, oh, gay men can decorate. Like it was not the most sophisticated time. And I think that in the same realm, Josh Groban would be considered like an outstanding vocalist in that time. And that was his moment. 2004, he was selling records, and now he's like lucky to get a judging show gig, where he could help out.
Yeah, he is all over skating, so.
Yeah, this is his moment. Skating.
They love flopper singers in the skating community. Okay, great.
Figure skating, a decade behind, perfect for Kaden LeDuc and Scott Brown. I mean, this is just, sing, everyone.
Okay.
I felt that he had no facial engagement. I thought he was skating through the music. Again, skating, spinning when Josh Groban was asking for edges. I just was... Skating skills, comparatively, I felt that he did have stronger skating skills than Vincent, and we'll get into that. I gave him an 8. I thought that he did have some power to his skating, and I felt like he did have some more transitions. He had the lunge into the triple flip. I felt like there was some there. Performance execution a 7, interpretation a 7, choreography a 6.75. I felt it was just low rent, but existed. So, at times. How did you feel, Jonathan?
Dave, okay. As you recall from Four Continents, when I gave Shoma Uno 300 points for every category, I went there with him, even though he is guilty of skating while Josh Groban was singing. Like, I forgave him because you will make excuses for the skaters you just like, and you'll be tougher on the skaters you just don't, right? Mm-hmm. So for some reason, I just love his skating. So get ready, brace yourself.
Okay.
Skating skills, 8.5. I thought he was skating big. I thought he had good flow, deep edges. He had a gorgeous lean. Okay. Transitions, 8. I didn't find them distracting.
So we tied on these two.
Okay. Well, you just wait. I'm about to get to the real generous ones. I said he had holds that linked. I said the music was informing all of them. They weren't just for the sake of transition. Okay, performance, 8.25. I thought it was soulful. I found it genuine. I thought he had big lines that projected to the audience, and I felt it was earnest. I felt like he meant it. Like, he liked saying that person.
He was like that Midwestern woman watching Oprah in 2004 that bought it. Okay, that's...
Yeah, it was probably my mom. I'm from Chicago. Okay, so... now, keep your hands up. Composition, 8.25. Because... Oh, the problem... Okay, at first you're nervous, because what's he doing in the opening? It's like answering the phone or jump rope. He like does something where he's like pumping and releasing butterflies, and then at the end he catches the boo. That was bad. But the rest of it, he had good phrasing, as we're talking about, big arc. I felt like he had an underlying vision that was not necessarily clear to us what it was, but it was there. I felt he was informed. Sorry,
can you repeat that? You felt that he had an underlying vision that wasn't clear to us, but you felt that he had one.
In that, he had a story. It wasn't like pantomiming the story, so we're like, oh, the plane crashed, now he's getting a phone call. Like, it wasn't like that, but it was clear he had motivation inside that informed the mood.
I felt that his story was on par with when Gracie Gold told us at the beginning of the Olympic year that Sleeping Beauty was the evil witch, and then she became the princess, and the program never changed. I felt like that's what I was getting from this.
But see, the more like someone talks about the story, the more I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't even understand what you're saying. But here I felt like he was feeling something, and you could see he was feeling something. Excuse me. I felt like I could feel him. Okay, interpretation of the music, 8.5. I thought it was finesse, I thought it was nuance, and I thought it was effortless. All the love to Dmitri Aliev.
I'm Team Jonathan here. I had almost a game mark. He was skating skills, 8.5. He was balletic, smooth. Mm-hmm. He had that ease of movement. I had like glimpses of Johnny Weir when I was watching him, and he put his whole body into the movement. Transitions, 8.25. He was on one foot. He was doing transitions. 8.75. Performance, 8.75. He was the only one I wanted to watch again.
Me too.
He had this like intangible...
I didn't want to watch any of these men again. What are you talking about?
This one I did.
Yeah, choreography, 8.25. I thought I would have liked to see a change of tempo at some point in the program. And then interpretation, 8.5. It fit the skating and fit the music. And
where's Emily Tuttle? We need her to judge these men. I would like her to be the fourth judge.
In comparison, I mean, was he not far and away the best?
I thought, to me, he was the class of the field in components. Yeah.
Thank you. I had him almost 20 points. Oh no, I had him exactly 20 points ahead of Samarin.
Well, here's the other thing. We were having a conversation, and Ann Jensen, bless her heart, was not a fan of Aliev either, which confused me because, you got a lot of people riled up. You know how to do this, Dave. You find just the right clips to post at just the right moments, and you posted Paul Wiley.
Are you saying that I do things intentionally?
I posted Paul Wiley.
What?
Who did?
Dave, you posted Paul Wiley?
Yeah.
Okay.
From 81?
I try to find perfect clips that'll be shareable, enjoyable content that are unexpected and appreciative. And I felt like Christy and Rudy, there were people that didn't even know that they skated pairs together. They did mirror skating, and they were like good in a weird, rough, around the edges kind of way. And I felt like people would enjoy that. I posted Paul Wiley because he was a junior in 1981, and I posted the World Juniors because it was the World Junior Competition Week, and I felt like, wow, people will appreciate some of his qualities. And I was going to post Rudy Galindo from 87, but I thought I just did Rudy, so then I did Paul, and that's how that came about. But yeah.
What is Charlie's Twitter when he's like, join me for an important discussion? I feel like that's what you're doing when you post these intentional things. But it was such a thing where everyone was like, oh my gosh, look at Paul's skating. It's big. Mm-hmm. It's grand. It's like completed movements that are, and I felt that's what this guy was reminding me of. Big, uncluttered stretch. I don't know. You know, I'll always default to what Emily thinks. So if she tells me it's bad, I'll change my mind. But.
Okay. I was
better than rest, so.
I said 83 points, and the judges gave him 79.58. The judges had him highest also, so I had him highest, but I had him high by like a landslide.
So I was high on Vincent, knowing what Jonathan, like how he felt, because I know we already went into this a little bit, but I was so... Okay, this is where you get into like where they talk about Irina improving. I felt like Vincent was in like a Tom Z needed a teacher's aide remedial class kind of way when he started the season, and maybe last year especially. And I feel like that Catherine Hill, because I knew that Catherine was working with him, I was looking at all of the details. I mean, Vincent smiled on the music change at the appropriate moment and didn't make me want to cringe. And I felt like that there were really like moments where I was like, wow, Vincent is really... becoming something, because before...
Well, Rome wasn't built in a day. He's going to have to work a lot on it. But some of those smile things you mentioned remind me of those, like, Marai smiles, where it'd be like...
I felt that he...
Yes, and it's only during his smoke break.
He does. He smiles at the appropriate moments during the smoke breaks. But which we talk about Marai, she was the inventor of that. But, you know, some of the Russians could smile during the smoke breaks and it would help their marks. I also felt like he was looking up and his upper body was really more engaged, and that there was like a lightness to his face that matched the You Must Remember This part, which is also the name of my favorite podcast. So he gets points for that. Right? I mean...
Sure.
You know what, Jonathan? You are just not on the old Hollywood game today. You're watching. So I felt I gave...
Americans that are actually doing well. Like, that's the thing. Like, we should be thankful. But
I gave him... Okay, so I gave him lower skating skills and transitions than the other men. And
yeah.
So I gave him a 7.5 skating skills. And I felt that he was just very average for a man. Like, I felt like... He has some good knee bends, and I feel like he has potential, and this is what my overall comments at Vincent are that he has potential, and he has, like, some tools to work with that just need a lot of development. It looks like he's been skating with Tom for a couple years and is only focused on jumps, and now we have to, like, address the other areas of his skating, which is why I think that it's genius that Tom Z is only allowed to work on jumps with him and not allowed to be his main coach. Because I think that Tom gave him that brilliant quad lutz, and I think that having Drew as, like, the manager helps. Because I don't really understand, well, I don't think anyone really does, like, how, like, Drew and Tammy are coaching him together, but, like, he's at the OTC working on his, like, injuries, but, I mean, I think that, like, Drew is overseeing with Tammy the whole ish. But bringing in Catherine Hill, I think, was genius for him, because... The performance execution, I gave him a 7.5. I gave him interpretation 7.5 and choreography 7.5. I just felt like overall he was doing a lot better than we have in the past. What did you...
Yeah. The quad lutz was like pretty thrilling, and it was cute to see him smile genuinely in that moment when he landed it. Skating skills, 7.25. Choppy. Kind of shallow edges. Okay, transitions, 7.
Okay.
They weren't elegant, but they weren't so distracting. The performance, 7.5. A lot of his movement is muddled. It's not clear to me. It's like halfway and muddled is the only word I could think of. And he has that like occasional like limp body like Hanyu does occasionally. And I wrote he occasionally projected. and memorizing. It was like, and I was told to project, look up, and back to business. Okay. Composition 7.0. It lacked charm. A piece like this should be like oozing charm, and I didn't necessarily catch that until he was done skating, and then he was like all charming, like being done, and I was like, whoops, you missed it. Interpretation of the music 7.0. He seemed exhausted doing everything a little bit, or breathless. It lacked style and mood variations. Now, I thought I was harsh, but judge number 6, if anyone wants to look those up, Yuri Guskov, he really let him have it. So at least I'm nicer than him. Okay.
I much prefer his short here.
His short, they spent much more time on. And actually, one of the coaches told me that the long was kind of put together in a rush. Like, they really spent time on his skating and spent much more time on the short program. And I think that you can really tell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Except the judges didn't let him have that moment in the short. It was a little unusual.
Because, again, they're doing the classic judge thing where they're remembering Vincent from last year. They're kind of like scoring him appropriately in the short. And then, remember Frank said that with Dennis 10 at 2020?
That just got better.
Yeah, magically. He became a better skater overnight. Yeah, that was the big case here. How did you feel?
Skating skills, I did 7.25. There's so many crossovers.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing to assess. There was nothing in this program that I could assess his skating skills on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's not. I want him to make a moment. Like, just give us one thing. Like, hold something and give us that moment. Just wasn't there. He just goes from jump to jump to jump. The whole program, there's nothing to assess his skating skills on. Transitions, 0/6.5. They're none. It's all crossovers. Performance execution, 7. I thought he did look like he was enjoying himself. And, you know, I said crisp and sharp movements. So I guess.
Oh, they're funny. I thought they were all muddled. Okay, interesting.
He's like relatively graceful, but there's no difficulty in anything that he's doing except the jumps, obviously. And their choreography composition, there's just too many cuts and it's incohesive to me. It's like,
I hated the last piece of music, and I thought it was the worst kind of cheap skating. It was like the end of a Scott Hamilton amateur program for me, and that is in the worst way.
Yeah, interpretation 6.75. Like, he has the one section, but it's just very empty.
Okay.
So, total 69.
Total 74.5.
71.5. You were close with the judges because the judges gave him 74.58. I had him just 0.5 above Samarin, but I had him consistently behind the other two Russians.
Now, as much as I apparently hate Russia, I said that I think he needs a strong Russian ballet teacher 4 to 5 days a week so that he could learn how to get strength in the whole body and the posture and not have hum body going on ever. Because to me, he looks like he's falling over in and out of the jumps at times, and that he needs some real strength in his body. That's what I felt.
And some.
Yeah. All right. So just to touch on the dance, interesting is that the Parsons did win here. And I wanted your take on them because my only comments on them were, he's far too short for her. They're both talented-ish. He's better. They need to split them up, but won't, because this is the USFS and we're going to pretend like they have potential for the next 4 years. It won't work out. And that I think that we could maybe get them good partners and do something with them. I don't get bored or creeped out that they are siblings, because the Shibutanis are always giving those articles where they talk about, you know, that people criticize them for being siblings and and people always talk about the sibling thing. I'm not bothered by the sibling factor with the Parsons, and I don't know why that is, but maybe they don't look alike, and that's why, and I don't know. But that's what I felt about the Parsons. How did you feel about our newest World Junior Champions from the U.S.?
Well, I'm also curious, like, they don't finish a lot of they don't have the extension. I don't find that they're at the same talent level as, like, someone like, obviously, Caitlin and Jean-Luc, like, they're our future. And then let's see who stays. in, you know what I mean, even after this Olympics. But I don't see them as any threat to like making a final group at nationals, quite frankly.
Well,
but,
they should. I mean, they've been in the juniors for 6 years. They've been to Junior Worlds. This is
question. He's what, 65? Like, why is he still sitting in the juniors?
And how about McNamara and Carpenter, who the judges are finally like, oh, we're bored of this, and they finally.
The message real clear there. Yeah. So
I mean, I think
Just trying to avoid them getting lost going to senior nationals. So
yeah.
But this seems to be a case where that they remind me of Yuri and Yasa, and someone else said this, in the fact that they just are like good coaches for junior, but they have no idea about packaging or what sells or how to play the game or any of this, and they have no long range vision or strategy for these two. And I think that they're going to go the way of Evan Bates and Emily Samuelson. I don't see the future.
Well, I mean, I guess they can.
I'm sorry.
They can always say they're.
Yuri and Yasa.
Yuri and Yasa coached Samuelson and Bates before they went to Marina, and they split them up. They euthanized that team, and
that was
and that's where. And Yuri and Yasa let Madison Hubble wear the short shorts with her brother. That was those Russians. You know, like Marina is like the Russian aristocrat, and then there's Yuri and Yasa who are like.
Are they like? I don't even need to know. Okay.
The more blue collar Russians. That's what's going on in Maryland, in my mind.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. She's very sloppy.
Yes.
I like want to compare them to the Hubbles, but they're just not the Shibutanis. So I'm like, oh, they're the Hubbles.
But not. Yeah. Yeah.
And so then I'm like, they're a little like Anasina and Pezarat, where like she's like large and in charge and can lift him. She's not large, but like
he's
compared
too short for her. Because they did a move where like they're doing kind of like squats and like going back on each other, and she's looking way taller than he is. He looks like he'd be a really stable partner if you could find him a really short girl. And
she's like powerful and aggressive.
But she's sloppy. Like you can see the twizzles. Yeah. He stays like his technique is very steady. They're all the same. Hers are like small and then big and then but she does have a presence to her and has a nice look, but overall, no.
And I do really love their free dance. I think it's unusual that you hear a piece of music in skating that you haven't heard before, but really works. Mm-hmm. And I think it does.
Mm-hmm. I also thought, shout out to Ponomarenko, who is moving up in the junior ice dance world. It'll be interesting to see if they try to send him to Junior Worlds to win next year. La, let's talk about your pair team. I know you have a lot of thoughts on this. Talk about the pairs. How do you feel?
The winners.
It has to be a first for Australia, doesn't it?
Yeah. Not only that, but it's the first medal since Peter Kane.
Jonathan's other favorite pair skater.
So I watched like half of their program and was like, oh, they're like very strong technically. Good for them. And then I was like, what is this music? Because this, I like swear I heard in an elevator today. And
he heard it when he was on hold with Comcast.
For an hour and a half.
And then I looked it up and it was like from the movie W-E. So then I'm like, oh.
What? We want in an elevator?
Like, is that like sort of like E.T., but not like some like extraterrestrial movie? No, it is a movie produced by Madonna and it had 1 star on Rotten Tomatoes and is about the royal who was like the other commoner wedding before Will and Kate, but the woman that this guy married was from Baltimore. Wally Simpson. See, it all comes back to Baltimore. And it was like a huge scandal because she was a commoner and an American and like she was from Baltimore. So not only was it a terrible choice of music, apparently it was from a terrible movie also.
And do you know who else skated to that terrible piece of music?
No.
Evgenia Medvedeva last year winning the World Championships to the program of I Hear, I Don't Hear, the story of a Terry Tuperidze's partially
That
deaf
was from
daughter.
the movie?
That's from the movie We?
Yes.
Wait, 2 people have skated to this?
Yes.
Like those like bootleg Madonna movies are like going in the 99-cent bin, like internationally. So they're like, oh, that's good music. Oh my gosh. I didn't recognize those parts.
You don't think that Brooklyn Hahn siblings just found this movie on their own? I mean, come on. What do you think?
Was it the same part?
I
The
don't
same
know.
sections?
I didn't.
I don't think so because I felt like we would have recognized some of those.
Yeah. I didn't mind the Medvedeva music last year, but I did hear it so many times. Maybe it grew on me.
You couldn't hear it, you say?
So
Okay, sorry, that was inappropriate. It was like a
Jonathan, they're gonna write that you hate Russians just like that you're racist against gingers.
No, they're going to say I don't like people with hearing impairments or something. I don't know what they'll say.
I think
It's
you're
gonna
very punny,
It's
Jonathan. You
gonna
know.
bother me. Yeah, okay.
Well, yes. And as we move forward, before we do a formal preview of the World Championships, obviously Satoko Miyahara is going to be out. Your question, is this the opening that Diva Wagner needs to win the bronze medal at the World Championships this year? Will she will herself onto the podium?
Are you asking me this seriously?
Yes!
Oh gosh, I have to think about this. I mean, one hopes,
Mm-hmm.
but let's see. She's been down now for quite a while,
Mm-hmm.
so I really don't know what to expect. We don't see footage of her. We don't know if she's
Instagram buddies with Mariah Bell, which is fascinating to me. They
wear the same outfit.
They wear the same outfits. They go to the same trainer.
They dyed their hair together.
Yeah, maybe Mariah Bell needs some of that Ashley in her.
To me, that's a testament. Like Ashley may not think of Mariah as a threat.
Yeah,
I think that's a testament as to how Mariah's skating.
So
Versus
we got
how...
into like a really big conversation about Mariah's boyfriend, who likes all of our Instagram posts. But however, I laugh every time because the way I know him is that he skated over Fleur Maxwell's finger in France, and he also skated into Urethra Salette on a practice rink, and it ended her career. So I hope that Mariah Bell, that they don't let him in the same practice rink. Yeah, he's that.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's just fascinating little tidbits of randomness knowledge that you all need. So moving forward, what was your moment of the week? Your MK moment of the week for the World Junior Figure Skating Championships?
Okay. Vincent Lutz was pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the contender. Dmitri Aliev in general for me is like just a lovely situation. But obviously, Ms. Honda and all her fabulousness, I'm anxious to see what develops.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm excited to watch her through the years. So just in general, always her. Anytime she's skating, she's my moment.
Mm-hmm. For you, Law?
Those were all pretty good. How about Samarin needing to close his mouth?
Well, I am going to go...
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to go with Marin Honda's footwork sequence. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was well done. What were your MK moments of the week? We want to know. And also, I want a little shout out that I went to an opera competition at the Metropolitan Opera House in New York. And Jonathan, what was the competition I saw? I wanted to surprise you. And then it was the grand finals of what?
Yeah, so it's called the Metropolitan Opera National Council Auditions, which I was in and featured on the radio when I did it back in 2006 or something.
So I
like
want to
that.
watch yours because I have never been to an opera competition before, but
They're fun.
I picked 5 out of the 6 winners. I thought that there were only going to be 5 winners, but there were 6 winners, so there was an extra. But I knew how to slice and dice those. I'm sorry?
The pewter list of opera.
So what they do is they give 5. They don't rank them, which I thought was I really wanted to rank, but they don't.
That's unique to that competition. And every other competition that I won, then it's ranked 1 through however many, and depending on the cash prizes. But they have such big money to give out, And it's so apples and oranges. You know, this would be like if Vincent Zhou was competing against Marin Honda. You know, like it's so...
Because, so like the first girl that was competing was, she was very like a Roheen Ward lady. Like, I thought that she had like some brightness and like, I felt that she had some tricks, but she was not yet at like Marie France's level of sophistication. I get a text message from Christopher Schumann, Mariah Bell. Next. There's a guy...
equivalent. Yeah,
there was a guy with like horrifying hair and a lot of shtick and a lot of energy, but I felt that he didn't have like the technical prowess of the top men. Christopher Schumann, Jason Brown. And then I was like, oh my goodness. And I was like,
all history. Okay, yeah.
And I picked that Alyssa Sisney that went to Curtis with you. I loved her and all of it. And also, we need to thank Alyssa Sisney because she has done a solid for us. She was in a vintage store this weekend and she found the Linda Fradiani record where she teaches us aerobics, and we are going to do this for...
Did she do that in her lesson with you, La? No, you did not.
We worked on double sourdough.
Yeah.
Okay.
My other moment of the week has to be the Linda Fradiani interview, and we will have part 2 up, but all of Linda's sayings and wonderfulness was just really getting me through this week. I have watched that opening minute and a half of her programs where she does the triple toe, the triple sow, and the double axel so many times. Big fan. And also, Jonathan, do you know that La doesn't get our obsession with the 1980 Olympics? She's more into why Amber Gren didn't compete at Junior Worlds. That is...
And you saying easy peasy.
Easy peasy.
You know what? The answer to that is easy peasy. We just love a good scandal.
Yes.
We love a good scandal. Yeah.
Easy peasy. And we're into Carlo and all of his scandalous deals with the judges. So, as always, we want to remind you to hold an edge. Dress yourself like Linda Fradiani. Take care of your deviated septum. Go back and Google the Linda Fradiani articles from the Washington Post and the New York Times. See what Frank was saying. He knew she needed to fix that deviated septum when she was 9. Hold an edge and look sexy. Bye, everyone.